Good morning, everybody. This is Christy. I am the Intimate Warrior. I thank you so much for stopping by, and as always, I send you love. So I ended up talking about April the 6th, 7th, and the 8th. Those are the dates that were given to me. And I ended up doing my own research to figure out what it meant, and I found, as you know, through what's going on currently with the Moon, Saturn, and Jupiter conjunct each other here throughout this process. There's a whole deeper meaning to everything that takes place. So, as I am now connecting, because I am definitely not complete. And even when I have reached another level, I'm not going to be complete. But I know where I currently am. I am at the process of completing the 12 cell salts. April the 6th, 7th, and 8th for myself are the days and the zodiacal signs that I need in order for that completion. I am a Taurus, but although we are in the sun sign of Aries, the cell salts that I am acquiring throughout this time are working with Aquarius and Pisces. Aquarius now. And I have to go back to my notes. When oh gosh, I have so many notes here. So I am going to try and put an image there for you to get an idea of how the cerebral spinal fluid works and flows throughout your brain, and how everything awakens, every single center within your brain, which of course is going to awaken the nerve fibers, your organs, your blood, DNA, as a result of this continued flow. So I'm going to do my best and keep this as simple as I possibly can, while making sense. The fornix that I mentioned the other day, of course, there's no coincidence that I ended up receiving that word, therefore making that video. The fornix is in relationship to the tomb, and the tomb must be heated, and when the cerebral spinal fluid has finally filled within the tomb, this is in comparison to the 3 days of that is associated with the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. 3 days. And that's why also in that video that I made of the fornix, I asked if you were paying attention to the dates 6, 7, and 8 being 3 days. In my 7 levels of initiation, I mentioned that I had already witnessed the death, and the Holy Spirit came upon me. I have not witnessed the resurrection. I mentioned that. So if you haven't listened to that video, it is quite lengthy. It's one of my longest videos, but it has tons of information in it about your 7 levels. I think I may have started towards the end. I'm not sure if I actually completed or spoke about every single level. It was a while ago, so because the last phases of your cycle, of course, become the most significant, or the most, you'll know when you are towards your end phases of your completing your 7 levels of initiations. But just know that through that, there's still more. So when we're thinking in terms of the tomb, it is the fornix, of the brain. The metaphysical meaning of tomb is a resting place. And this is where Christ rested at. When you're a tomb, which is also in relationship to the Egyptian god Atum, who is known as the God of the universe. And you can do some research on him if you so are inclined. Within the fornix cradles which is also the Eye of Horus, which is the combination of both left and right eye being synchronized and unified within the brain. The thalamus fills with fluid. Not just the thalamus, but the thalamus is where the fornix is kind of protecting. It becomes filled with that fluid, and the spiritual resurrection happens when the extroverted electrical solar energy in the Pingala Nadi and the introverted magnetic lunar energy in the Ida Nadi reunite and rise to the thalamus as one. And it says in Revelations 11:11, "And after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet. And great fear fell upon them which saw them." The 2 counterparts of the resurrection go hand in hand. As previously mentioned, one cannot operate without the other. They are spiritual and physical. The physical parallel of the resurrection happens when the pineal and the pituitary secretions synchronize. The pituitary chemicals of oxytocin and vasopressin, created by a high vibratory frequency of unconditional love, allow the CSF flow to increase and pressurize so that the pineal can upgrade in melatonin. This twofold process encourages blood cell production and dormant brain cell activation. The ancients called anyone who had this experience a Christ or the Anointed One. And this is when the oil is crucified, which of course means to increase in power 1,000-fold. It remains for 2.5 days within the tomb, and on the 3rd day ascends the pineal gland that connects this to the cerebellum and the optic thalamus and the central eye, which is the throne of God. So the process of this is that the soul, they say that this is what those who have done this along their journey speak of the soul that swims within the CSF, or how Jesus also mentions in the Bible of living water. Continuously flowing with living waters. So I have been, when the CSF is also flowing through your brain parts, this is when a lot of the time we could be experiencing lots of mucus release. Because in order for the brain to fully function, the toxins need to be released. So, of course, it's going to come out in mucus. It could come out in itchy, watering eyes. Of course, mucus draining from the nasal cavities. It could be also within your vocal cords. Mine began yesterday. And a little bit this morning. Actually, it got pretty rough throughout the night, where I was waking up just constantly clearing myself and using saline to get as much out as I possibly could. So no discomfort for myself. Early on in my process, tons of symptoms and side effects as a result, because again, I was more dense, more negative. As you progress along, although you may have some symptoms or side effects, they're not as weighing on you because of the change in mindset, the change in the way that we see, perceive things, how we understand things. That makes a big difference in how things bother us. So I wanted to fill you in on that again, that the fornix is the tomb. The tomb. And, I made a note and asked you guys to kind of listen. 3 days. Although we just got over Easter, this is a coincidence. It is, but it's not. Because I know that you are not, some of you may not be at this level yet, but you still are at this level. You are receiving something pertaining to this right now. That goes along with what you are ready to receive. And in time, when you finally reach that higher stage, that higher level, because of your readiness for it, you will be exactly where I am at. But will it match? Will it line up with the man-made or the biblical type of Easter, resurrection, death and resurrection? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to this last year. I wasn't into or looking towards astrology, or not that I can recall anyway. I don't think that's where my path was at a year ago. And of course, even prior to that, I was, oh no, I'm not even going to venture down that road because of fear. So in your journals, though, make a note of Easter, and make a note of this time that we are currently in, with the moon, Jupiter, and Saturn conjunction again, just like what took place for Christmas. It was a highly significant moment for all of us. The entire world got to witness that. So even now, the entire world is witnessing this type of earthly resurrection. And it makes me question, though, that if this is taking place right now, is this really the time? that Christ was really awakened? Because from my understanding in my research is that even the months of where each zodiac sign should be at should be even 3 days prior to the beginning. So, for instance, we are in Aries, and I don't know when the Taurus season begins without Googling real quick. Although I'm a Taurus, a Taurian. So yeah, it specifies April the 20th to May the 20th for a Taurus. It should actually be 3 days prior to that. And that's why during your moon and sign, I always say go back 3 days. And that is what God has instructed me to do, to remind me to go back 3 days. So that is the actual true time frame that I begin on, and I have asked others to begin on. Time has been altered. Information has been changed a little bit. And it's important for you to trust in what you are feeling. Learn to trust in what you are feeling and what you're going through. Don't put so much pressure or emphasis on every single thing that you've learned throughout your lifetime. When you need to learn something, God, the angels, your higher self is going to lead you towards what you should learn about and read about and what is true at the right time. As long as you trust in that internal guidance of yours and then trust what you're reading and picking up on, it's going to align you with everything that you're supposed to need and where you're supposed to go. So I know this video is a little bit, I don't know if it's going to help you and keep you informed. I hope it does. The tomb where Christ awakens is within you. And the fornix is the protector of it. This is Christy. Much love, health, and healing your way. I am bringing purpose to your life. Take care.